Welcome to Scene Explainer. Today we'll be explaining this movie. The movie begins with Zadie, who is on the run from Marion. Zadie calls Shelly and sends her a video implicating Vincent Reg. She further suggested to Shelly that they can get him with that video, but Shelly told Zadie that Reg is invisible, and it's impossible to go after him. Just before the call ended, Marion found Zadie, and saw that she had already sent the video to Shelly. Marion bodyguard then injected Zadie with a tranquilizer. Shelly, on hearing this, wanted to delete the video, but she didn't. Shelly packed her things in a bid to run off, but just before she left, she hid her phone in her safe. Shelly got downstairs and was walking as fast as possible, but then she noticed people were following her. Shelly, to evade the people following her, she bumped into a police officer and purposely let her drug fall off, so they could arrest her, which they did. The police officers took Shelly to prison, and the first person she saw while being taken in was Eric, and they clicked immediately. Marion took Zadie to Mr. Reg, her boss. Zadie was trying to beg for her life, but Mr. Reg walked up to her and told her about the deal he made with the devil, whereby he sends innocent souls to hell, so he doesn't get to go there. He then whispered something in her ear, which made her eyes turn white. Marion then gave her a knife, and she eventually killed herself. The prisoners were out in the field doing morning exercises, after which they got to the canteen for food. Eric was seated alone with his food. Shelly then brought her own food and joined him. Shelly then tried to get acquainted with Eric. They also complimented their tattoos and told jokes. A guard then walks up to Eric and tells him that it's time for his group session. Right before Eric left, Shelly asked him his name, and he told her. Time reached for recess. Eric was seated in his lonesome in his room. Shelly then came inside, so they could continue their conversation. She then saw different drawings of her that Eric drew. Shortly after, a guard started announcing that Shelly has a visitor who would like to see her. Shelly was confused because nobody knew she was in prison, so she hid and tried to check who her visitor is, and she discovered it was Marion. Shelly then pleaded with Eric to hide her, that if Marion finds her then she's dead. Eric, in bid to hide her, took her to the laundry. They then climbed out through the windows, and they escaped from there. When Marion and the other guards finally got to the laundry, they were already long gone. Shelly and Eric ran out from the forest, and stopped a car to help them. As they were going, Eric then asked Shelly why they were after her, but she refused to tell him. Shelly took Eric to an apartment owned by an old friend of hers. Shelly then told Eric that he doesn't have to stay, and he can leave if he wants to, but Eric insisted on staying. Shelly then suggested they hide out in the house for some time. Eric and Shelly afterwards had all types of fun. They had sex, partied excessively, played piano consecutively, and did literally everything together, and their love grew like a wild flower. The police found Zadie's body and called Marion immediately to tell her. Marion then called Mr. Reg to tell him about the situation. Reg then tells Marion to make sure that the video doesn't get out, and she should make sure she ends this by killing Shelly. Eric and Shelly were in a party, and Shelly got approached by Dom, her old friend, who told her that her life is in danger and she needs to run away. Shelly, on hearing this, took Eric with her and they went home. When they finally arrived home, Shelly went inside first, while Eric was locking the doors. Eric, on coming in, saw one of Marion guards strangling Shelly, and as he pleaded for her to be released, they jumped him and strangled him with a water bag also, till they took their last breath. Eric saw himself drowning, and he finally woke up at a strange place unknown to him. He then saw a strange man sitting there, and he asked him what the place was, and where exactly he is. The man then told him that when a person dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead, but sometimes something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with them, and the soul becomes restless. Eric was confused and refused to believe all the man has said, claiming it's a nightmare. The strange man, to make him believe, pushed him inside the water and told him to wake up. Eric woke back up at the scene of him and Shelly's death and was extremely shocked. Marion then sent Detective Milch to retrieve Shelly's phone, so they can delete the video. Eric, on seeing Milch, took up a knife, but Milch had already seen him. Milch persuaded Eric to come out, that he's a cop and he won't hurt him. Eric then came out and was trying to explain the whole scenario to him, but Milch shot him. Eric fell down but he didn't die. He then picked his knife back up and attacked Milch, but he was stabbed multiple times with it. Milch was shocked to see that he hasn't died yet. Milch then put him on the ground and was throwing endless punches, but it wasn't enough. Eric then reached for the knife and finally stabbed Milch. Eric took of his clothes and looked in the mirror, and to his utmost surprise, all the wounds were healing rapidly. Eric left the house stunned, and noticed crows around following him. As Eric was going, he saw Shelly's dead spirit trying to jump over a bridge, and immediately she jumped. He too climbed the bridge and jumped also. Eric woke back up at the strange place that he was before. He then confirmed that what the man was saying is true. He then further asked him why he was there and Shelly isn't. He told him that, where Reg sent Shelly to is way deeper and worse than where he currently is. He further continued to tell him that, the only way Shelly can be free, is to kill all the people who contributed to her death. He also told him that, Mr. Reg made a deal with the devil, which entails, he gives the devil innocent lives in exchange for immortality. Eric agreed to the terms, and the man pushed him again to reality. Eric went straight to see Chance his friend. He told Chance that he needs a gun urgently and he shouldn't ask why he needs it. Chance then willingly gave him a gun, and some bullets with it. Eric first of all, got into a car, and immediately Sophia, Shelly's mother, got into the car. He pointed a gun at her, and told her that they need to talk. Sophia took Eric to her house. Eric on getting there saw Shelly's pictures. He then asked Sophia why she was with the people that killed her that day. Sophia in her response, told him that she had no choice, and Vincent Reg isn't someone that she can mess with. Eric then left her and went into Shelly's room. When he got in, he opened her safe and saw different pictures of her. As he was gliding through the pictures, he then saw Zadie and Dom pictures, and this gave him an idea. Eric headed straight to Reg's building. Just outside the building, he saw one of Marion's guard, pointed a gun at him, and entered the back seat of the car he was in. When he got in, he asked him what he worked for, but the guard reached for his gun, and Eric shot him in reflex. Eric then collected his phone. When he opened it, he saw a message from Marion. After reading the message, he then saw Marion and rushed straight to her. When Marion saw him, she ran into the car, and immediately instructed her driver to run him over. Before the driver could get to him, he jumped to the top, and entered the car from there. Eric struggled with the drivers inside, while Marion ran to the back. The bodyguard in the car was firing aggressively at Eric, and just when Eric was about to get to Marion, the bodyguard kicked him out of the car, and he was ran over by a huge trailer. Eric still crawled, till he finally got up, then he straightened his bones by himself. Mr. Reg pays Sophia a visit, and told her that he heard that she had a visitor. Mr. Reg then insisted she told him what the visitors wanted, and she told him that, it's to kill him. Mr. Reg then asked her if he still misses Shelly, and Sophia replied positively. Reg then decided that, perhaps she join her. Reg whispered something in her ear, and just as he was walking down, Sophia fell from her window and died. Eric then went to intercept Dom, whom he and Shelly met at the bar some time ago. He asked Dom why he was trying to Shelly out that time, and Dom told him that he's only trying to save her. He further told Eric that, Marion is just a pawn in the game, but Vincent Reg is the real monster. Dom also told Eric that the reason they went after her in the first place was because of a video that is in her phone. Eric then spared his life, and went straight to the house that he and Shelly lived in. On getting in, he started reminiscing the past, and the memories they had there. He then went to Shelly's safe, and brought out her phone. When he played the video, he saw what Shelly has been hiding from him. In the video, Eric saw Reg whispering something in her ears. Her eyes immediately turned white, and she killed 2 of her friends that day. Eric was immensely disappointed with Shelly, and he started doubting their love. Eric walked out of the building in agony, and the crow kept on following him. Eric went to Chance's house, and he gave the phone to Chance. Shortly after, Marion guards entered inside, and pinned Eric to the floor, while the other one shot Chance in cold blood. Eric was very upset, and tried to run away, but one of the guards caught up to him, and shot him. After he was shot, he was no longer healing, and he fell into the bathtub, and woke back up at the purgatory with the strange man. Eric asked the strange man why he was back here, and told him that he stopped healing because he doubted his love for Shelly, and there's nothing else he can do to save her now. Eric, still eager to save Shelly, offered his own soul for Shelly to be free. The man told Eric that, even if Shelly is saved, he can never be with her again, and he agreed. The crows started hovering around Eric's head, which means that they're in approval. The man then cut both Eric's hand, and his own, and joined them together in unison to begin the ritual. During the ritual, Eric's eyes turned white, and blood started coming out from his eyes, and the crows granted him immortality, so he can kill his oppressors. Eric woke back up, in the bathtub where he was shot. He then stood up and killed all the guards he saw present. Eric then went and tatted Shelly's name on his hand, and got prepared for the battle ahead. Eric headed straight to the theater, where Marion and Reg were. He penetrated through the front door, and was killing all the bodyguards on sight mercilessly. The guard tried their best to stop him, but all to no avail. Eric finally got to Marion's personal bodyguard. He cut off his head, and took it inside Marion's room. Marion was shivering to her spine when she saw the head Eric was holding. Marion started begging for her life, but he killed her regardless. Eric then took both Marion's head, and her bodyguard's head, and threw them in the crowd, which caused them to disperse. Eric then left the theater, and headed straight to Vincent Reg's building. Eric entered the room where Reg was, put a sword to his neck, and asked him why he killed Shelly. Reg did not answer the question, rather he told him that, it's impossible to bring Shelly back. Reg stylishly got closer to Eric, and when he was close enough, he whispered in his ear, the spell that makes people kill themselves. Eric was almost giving in, but memories of Shelly started kicking in, and he overpowered Reg, and transversed between universe. Eric took Reg to the purgatory, that he woke up in when he died. Reg was utterly confused, because he didn't know where he was. Eric then pushed Reg into the water, jumped on him, and was punching him non-stop. Shortly after, demons dragged Reg further deeper. Few moments later, Shelly came outside from the same water, and Eric was so happy to see her. Eric hugged her passionately, then Shelly's spirit returned to her body, and that was how the movie ended. Thanks for watching, please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you.